Let's give it up for Adaline herself, Miss Blake Lively. So this movie sort of deals with like magical realism, and that's something that can go very wrong very quickly. Did you guys talk about how to sort of maneuver that sort of dangerous playing field?
Well, it's incredibly dangerous, but it's also, when it's done well, as an audience, you really love it and you really appreciate it. And I think because it's such a tricky territory to navigate, you don't see magic in films as much unless it's a superhero film or you know, there's Diagon Alley, you know, it's wizards or capes. But to have magic in a very simple, quiet story is rare. And so when people aren't expecting anything out of it, you get to pleasantly surprise people, or you get to make a crappy movie like everyone thought you might.
Right.
And I think we made a really special movie that I'm really proud of, and it has magic in a quiet film in a way that I haven't seen in a really long time.
Right. We kind of see you when this sort of event happens, and then many years later. But did you and the director sort of fill in that space? I mean, if I asked you where she was in 1976, could you tell me, or was that something that was just sort of not discussed?
I think we had our own ideas of what happened, and we skimmed over the 70s, 80s, and 90s because I think everyone wants to forget those. So we really focused on the other time periods. No, but you know, we looked at the time period when she came of age, when the most impactful things happened to her, when she got in her car accident, when she was married, when she had her great loves, when she had a child, when she had to leave her child, when the FBI was after her. You know, all of these big most pivotal points in her life we discussed ad nauseum. But then for a while, you know, she just tried to disappear, and she just became very alone and quiet.
Well, one of the sort of clues to your amazing history is the wardrobe, which is incredible, and I imagine you had a lot of fun with that because
they did not have duct tape strong enough to keep me from having an influence on that wardrobe.
I mean, so you purposely sort of were putting things in from the past into things. Can you talk about developing that look and sort of where the thought process was?
Yeah, well, we were lucky to have the costume designer from Moulin Rouge be our costume designer on the film, so I was just like so geeked out by that. But was that a slow clap starting?
Give it up for Moulin Rouge.
Right?
Yeah.
Slow clap. Anyway, but so, you know, there was a version of this film that we could have done, which if this was the Pat Fields version, you know, Sex and the City goes back to 1908, would have been amazing. Or Gossip Girl for that matter. But this was about, yeah, there we go. That was a faster clap. But you know, this version of the film was about being as honest as possible, and we tried to not make her glamorous. But women back then put so much more effort in the way they presented themselves. There was no such thing as sweatpants and Uggs,
right?
You know, so there was always just naturally more of a formality to it. But when I first read the script and a lot of the initial conversations, in present time, she looked like, you know, a girl walking down the streets of Manhattan, like a trench coat and skinny jeans and tall boots, and I was like, she looks like Serena Vanderwood. You know, you can't do that. And they said, yeah, but she evolved with the times in every decade, so she would have evolved with this time. But something about her had to be different. Something about her had to stick out. So I really fought to have her be an amalgamation of all of the decades that she's lived in. But in order to do that in each decade, like in the 60s, you'll see a little piece from the 20s. Because the idea is like, she wouldn't just all of a sudden start wearing vintage. So every decade, you see the decades before weaved in.
And one of your big sort of wardrobe outfits is the first New Year's Eve dress, which I think we have a clip of. So let's watch that now. Now that's your very handsome co-star, Mikhail, who, for the son of Harrison Ford, has a weird Norwegian accent pop up every once in a while.
Yeah, you only hear it when he's talking about the utility line in the movie, but otherwise it's really it's super solid.
From Westeros, and yeah, can you talk about working with him, because he's sort of the breakout of this movie?
Yeah, we were really excited to work with him because you know, we looked for about 6 months for an Ellis because this woman hasn't been in a relationship since the 60s. So this guy has to be incredibly formidable for her to say, okay, now finally I'm going to break down and open myself up to love. And then Ellis says he's written too. He's handsome and he's charming and he's wealthy and he's philanthropic and like, holy crap, show me where that guy is,
Right.
you know? And she's just like not interested. So we had to have somebody who could be self-deprecating and who could undercut that and be goofy but also have a gravity to him. And it was really difficult to find that person. And then 2 weeks before we started shooting, McKeel came in, and we were just so lucky to have him. Maybe not the first choice as Harrison Ford's son,
Right.
but he is so right for Ellis that we thought, yeah, he's his son. Maybe there was an affair.
He spent a lot of time in Norway.
Yeah, that his character, his father's character had. But he's just such a joy to watch this movie. And it was also fun at the after party to see a lot of like 10-year-old girls be like, Ellis, hi. And like, you know, they were having their crushes.
Right.
And not just 10-year-old girls. I mean, girls in many different age groups.
And probably some men as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the only ones he was responding to, oddly. Just, no, I'm joking. He's got a lovely wife and a beautiful little baby girl. But we probably shouldn't talk about that because we
Well,
want people to only look at him for his sexy, sweaty, steamy body in the trailer. And we want to get girls in the theater for that. It was a very convenient thing in the trailer.
To have him just...
it's actually like
that's
funny
5 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, it's like this really like emotional scene. And then he comes out like... slow motion, like covered in steam and like nipple hair. Like, what is happening right now? But you know, it's the trailer shot.
Right. Well,
It's
speaking
the
of
one that
nipple
gets
hair, you
fingers.
worked with Harrison Ford as well, and he has kind of a reputation for being a little bit of a grouch. Do you have any funny, grumpy old man Ford stories you could share with us?
Well, you know, I was just so desperate for his approval the whole time because he's very stoic and he's very quiet. He's not grumpy. He's just you got to earn it.
Right.
And yeah, he's Harrison Ford. Of course you have to earn it, you know? And then our last scene together is this incredibly emotional scene in the movie. It was so hard. And I don't know, it's just like when I'm doing a scene like that where I have to put myself out there so much and I have to be so vulnerable, I really need some sort of feedback from the other actor. It's a total weakness of mine, but I either need them to say, hey, good job, or why don't we try it this way? Would that help you out? Or because it's not really working, like you suck right now and this is what you can do better. But I just need to hear something for them just to be quiet and be like, do they hate it? Do they hate it? Do they love it? And so, you know, we finished the scene and he just finally went like that, and I was like, can you give me some sort of feedback? Or we've been working together for a few weeks, just give me something. And he's like, I'll give you something if you deserve it. I was like, oh, great. So
Wow.
So I don't know if
I'll
he
take
said
that. I'll
I don't know
take
if
that
he
as
said-
a grumpy story.
No, I don't think it's grumpy. It
Okay.
gets better though. So sorry, I tell really long stories. But he didn't say it in those words, but he
Okay.
sort of like, you know, said as much. So then at the end of the scene, he just sort of smiled and winked and was like, that was it? That's all you have to say to me? Like, can you just give me a compliment, please? And then so he's like, you know, that you were actually really great in that scene. And I said, you know what, you were too. You're not nearly as bad as they say. And like, he laughed so hard. And then like, from then on was just like, you saw like the Pepe Le Pew eyes, like, like he like finally liked me and appreciated me. And then he was wrapped forever. So that was short-lived.
We have another clip. I want to talk about Ellen Burstyn, which is the third clip, but we have to get through this other clip. So let's show.
Because I'm
clip.
talking too much?
No.
I'll tell shorter stories.
No,
I gotta
you're
tell
great.
shorter stories.
No.
You gotta edit this.
This is a clip of you and
Edit this in your
Mikhail
mind.
On a date, on your first date.
Yes.
So,
cool.
take that, Jazz.
Oh yeah. And McKeel's actually an incredible musician,
Right.
and like New Orleans jazz is
Yeah.
what he knows how to play. And so he was like, please don't make him play that jazz. It was like his whole big, you know.
He was on
plea.
Treme, right?
Yeah, he was on
Yeah.
Treme, and he learned how to play
Do it.
piano. Sure.
The movie is set in San Francisco, and coming out of the movie, I was like, "This is a great San Francisco movie." But you guys shot it in Vancouver. How hard was that?
Yeah, and then I just saw Planet of the Apes was shot in Vancouver and something else. So I've now coined it San Francouver. Right. So yeah, we shot in San Francouver, which was they add a trolley in San Francisco. Like,
That was it.
put a trolley in Dubai and you're in San Francisco. If there's a tax break there, it will happen. Movies will show up there. But it was fun. I love being in Vancouver, and it would have been nice to shoot in San Francisco. But
Right.
It's expensive.
Yes.
That's why no one does it.
Do you have any favorite San Francisco movies?
I have favorite San Francisco ice cream places.
Which
I'm
is?
sure I could think of San Francisco movies, but Mrs. Doubtfire, that was a pretty
Right?
good one.
Yeah. Sure. A lot of Doubtfire fans in the
Yeah,
audience.
right? It's the Doubtfire crowd here.
Another amazing actor you get to work with is the great Ellen Burstyn. You only have a few scenes with her, but I imagine you were like asking her a million questions and sort of getting her input on everything, or were you just sort of
No,
enjoying?
it's terrifying. You
Really?
can't do that.
You don't want to mine her for sort of information?
I do, of course you do, but you also respect
Right.
someone like her so much that you if she wants to offer it, you allow her to offer it, but you can't just say like, oh, tell me about that one time, you know. You know, it was neat because we actually became closer in the scenes together because she's someone who's incredibly regal, and when someone has earned that much respect, it's almost hard to feel secure enough to approach them and ask them questions. And so in the scenes together, she had to be so open and vulnerable and pure because she was playing my daughter and I had to play, you know, the authority over her. So I had to be more guarded. And by her opening up in the scenes with me, it actually, when the scenes would cut, we would like, you know, be closer. And, you know, by the end of it, we actually became quite close. And, you know, I had her over for Easter.
So now you can pepper her for questions. Now that you know
I can ask her questions for sure.
Okay, good. Let's run a clip. And doesn't that look just like San Francisco? There's a gentleman in the front row who is going to bombard you, I'm sure, at some point to sign his copy of The Green Lantern, which I can't have
You're
here.
the one who bought it.
Yeah, he's the one. Obviously, that movie paid off hugely, personally for you, but did not do what anybody thought. I mean, did you guys have a feeling on set that things weren't going the way they should have been going?
I mean, it's a little bit of a red flag when you don't have a script, but hey, let's do it.
You don't need a script.
You know, it's one of those things where I think people get so caught up in what the trend is and what they think the audience wants that sometimes you forget to step back and I think respect your audience and say, like, if you animate a suit, people may not enjoy that,
right.
You know? Or, so I think that it was just sort of hoping people would be there no matter what.
Right.
And you always try to make the best movie possible, and I think everyone involved did try to make the best movie possible, but sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan's getting back into the sort of superhero game. Would you, with Deadpool? Yeah.
Deadpool. Oh my gosh.
Would you do another character, or is that?
Yeah, it's all about doing the right thing. I mean, of course, Deadpool, what a character.
Yes.
I mean, going on that set and seeing the movie that they're making, it is such a special film. Take it out of the superhero context, and it's just an awesome movie. It's one of the funniest things I've ever been on. I cannot believe some of the things they're saying.
Right.
You're saying that in a movie? That's okay. And, he actually, we were both sort of allergic to social media just because I think you're allergic to, it's easier to stand on your soapbox when you haven't done it. And you're like, well, actually, I don't partake in that. But, he started Twitter since, and he sort of tweets almost as Wade Wilson. And it's a little bit reflective of what the movie's like.
Irreverent.
It is.
I can't wait. Okay, well, I think now we are going to turn it over to the audience.
Hi, Blake.
Hello.
Congratulations on your new bundle of joy.
Thank you.
You talked about
Is that him? Is he my new bundle of joy?
So cute.
Surprise.
You can hold him in your arms. You talked about how you included fashion over time into your character. How did you take like mannerisms and how women have aged over time and their rights and their freedoms into your character into the modern day?
Well, that was a huge thing because there's a formality to Adaline, even in present time. We explored different versions. Like I think Jane Fonda's so rad. So I was like, I want to talk like her and I want to look like her. But she came of age in a time where, she was fighting for, free love and she had a voice and she used it. But Adaline came of age in the Edwardian era. I mean, she lived through the 20s. She was around when women didn't have rights, and then was a part of that, and then figuring out how women fit into society and culture. And what was really neat about the wardrobe is when you look at the history of fashion, there's a reason that the shift dresses and the drop waist were more loose than the more buttoned up things of the Edwardian era. And then that happens again, history repeats itself again a bit from the 50s, where it's very conservative and corseted and buttoned up, and women's hair is very tight and proper to loose and flowing in the 60s, and it's reflective of the free love. And so where women fit into society socially and politically was reflected in the fashion, but it was also reflected in the mannerisms. So I could have been a woman from the 50s or a woman from the 60s in each of those different decades. But when you look at when a woman comes of age, they're normally most defined by that era. So my grandma came of age in the 20s, and she was very much that woman. Or if you look at someone who came of age in the 60s, there is a looseness or fire to them, a positive looseness, not like a hussy looseness, but maybe a hussy looseness too. Hey, I don't know who your grandmas are boning.
This is a judgment-free stage, right?
But anyway, so it was really about defining, capturing that woman from the 20s, and then sort of letting her evolve and change over time.
And you have a dialect thing too, don't you? A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Did you ever want it to be like, "Hey, look, I'm in the modern era"? I don't know.
Well, I looked at Jane Fonda and I was like, I want to talk like her, because she kind of like talks through her teeth in a really sexy way, but she speaks in a very empowered way. Her voice is something that she's very proud of. Where Adaline had to be a bit more quiet and reserved, and that be seen and not heard thing that was instilled in her at a young age, and then sort of growing out of that and changing. So yeah, I had to change my dialect. I also like mumble and talk like I'm from Burbank, California, which. Everyone knows I'm from New York.
Yeah, I've been watching you with my girlfriend since Gossip Girl and all that. But my question is this.
Oh, your girlfriend watches Gossip Girl, not you?
Yeah, I watch it because I heard. But anyways.
Yeah, I know that.
But is there a difference between your character Serena and now with Adaline in terms of like vibe and all that?
Well, Adaline is not a socialite in New York. She hasn't given anyone a drug overdose. She hasn't
She's
slept with her.
magically stopped aging. That is a huge part of the movie.
She's not brothers with her ex-boyfriend. Her new stepbrother's father is not a ghost. There are just a few small similarities.
This happened
differences like that. Oh yeah, season 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gotta catch up.
A ghost came in season 2. That's when you say maybe it's better if we don't have a script. But it's still entertaining, nonetheless. But yeah, there's a lot of differences. But there's an elegance to women that are of times past that you don't see as much in characters or contemporary women. In film, not in contemporary women in general.
Hi. You talked a bit about kind of needing feedback after you finish a scene, which I can completely identify with as an actor myself. And so I wanted to kind of hear a little bit more about your process as an actor and how you prepare for your film roles.
It's always terrifying. And it's neat to see people like Harrison Ford show up to set and still really care. And you all think you're ready, and then him saying, okay, let's all sit down together and let's look at the scene and let's make it the best possible. Let's make it as honest as possible. And to have that luxury of being able to do that is incredible, but also seeing that he's even kind of nervous in that. Or my husband just worked with Dame Helen Mirren, and the night before she's like, oh, I'm so nervous. And he's like, what's going on in your life? She's like, well, we're starting this movie tomorrow. And he said, well, yeah, but so? And she's like, I just always get so nervous before. I just don't know. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. So that's nice to hear. But to rely on feedback from your actor, your other, for your scene partner is always a scary thing to have to rely on, because when you work with someone that's method and you're not supposed to have a positive relationship necessarily. I worked with Maria Bello on Private Lives of Pippa Lee, and she really. It helps her in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, to feel like her character. It's not that she's going around and abusing me between scenes, but she sort of keeps to herself. And our first scene together, I took a full bottle of her pills and I'm screaming and crying and I slap her and she slaps me, and it's just an incredibly emotional scene. And then she wouldn't talk to me between scenes, and I thought, she wants to have me fired, she hates me, this is horrible. And then I'd work with Julianne Moore in the same film, who's like joking about her kids between scenes, and then they slate and like she goes like right into this like creepy girlfriend of my aunt. And I really saw that both of them were incredible actors and both had very different processes, and they both got great results, and I saw how each of their processes were affecting me, and that was the thing that scared me. Is I thought I need to, whatever it is that I do, I wasn't doing as well around Maria as I was around Julianne, because I needed her to say, you're doing great. And not until we finished the movie, she was like, I'm so happy to work with you. I feel like we did such great work together. Do you feel good about it? And I was like, dear God, could you have said that on day one? And she would send me nice text messages when she saw the movie, and like, we've been so great and friendly ever since. But I just didn't know her process, and that really, it did throw me off. And so I just need to figure out how to not need the feedback in the moment, you know?
Hi, Blake.
Hello.
So I've noticed a trend that a lot of actors seem to want to like separate themselves from the works that made them bigger when they were younger. So do you mind being so closely associated with Gossip Girl and Serena van der Woodsen?
That's a good
Well,
question.
I wasn't so closely associated with it. I wouldn't be here, you know. I'd be pimping my ride somewhere, like trying to get a job. But you know, it's less about being so closely associated with it because of it's what people know you for, and you want to separate yourself with it just because it's because of the pop culture association with it, and more about never wanting to define yourself as any one thing. Especially as an artist, you want to be able to evolve and change and constantly not only surprise other people but surprise yourself, and that's easier when you're jumping from film to film because they have shorter lives, where the films can live for a long time, but you're only watching someone on screen for an hour and a half, however many times you see that movie. Or with a TV show, someone's in your house once a week for 6 years. I mean, we shot 10 months out of the year, so people really feel like they know you as that character. But what's been most challenging, I think, for me, just on a personal level, is people feel like they know me as that character personally. And yes, I lived in Manhattan and I did not do anything to help myself. I would take home wardrobe, I would date my person I'm dating on the movie, who's also my brother, Little Game of Thrones. I didn't date my brother on the show. I didn't date the ghost.
Okay.
But you know, but there was a ghost that came into my, you know, so we were all buddies, so we didn't really do anything to help matters there. But that's the thing that I always find to be most challenging, is that I feel like even when I give interviews and I'm making some ridiculous joke, they print it and sort of print it as if like some elitist jerkhole was saying it, because I'm known for being this Upper East Side girl that would never say something like that, you know. And so that's been the sort of tricky thing for me personally, is feeling like that's not me, like don't think of me like that. So
Hi, Blake. Congratulations on your baby, first of all. You look amazing.
Thank you.
See where you get the good genes from.
Whoa. She's single. No, I'm joking. She's not.
My question, me and my buddy Greg here, we're really deep into Meisner, so we wanted to know what technique works for you, and do you have any memorable breakthroughs that you can share with us?
Wait, what is Meisner?
It's
A technique.
acting technique.
An acting technique?
Yeah.
Not everyone knows that.
I'm
He just
sorry.
said that.
Oh, okay. Well, it could be a religion for all, you know.
You know, for me, I always feel like I'm faking it, which is like probably something I shouldn't say out loud. These are the inner thoughts. No, but you know, I grew up. All my family, all my siblings were actors. My parents had an acting class, and I grew up in it and around it. But when I actually fell into it, I didn't feel like I had really earned it. So there are times when I've done, you know, I've read these acting books and explored different techniques and gotten really deep into that. And then I would get so in my head that I would do a worse job. And then there are other times where I would just go in and I would really, really work with the actor and the director and the script and hammer it out and try to imagine what it would be like to be in that scenario. So it was a little bit more imaginative than it is studied, but you're studying it with the people that you're collaborating with. That to me has been more helpful, because when the times when I've done all the work ahead on my own, then you're with someone else, everyone's got their own vision, and you could just like, you know, you sort of implode and it's hard to be as agile. So I find it best I felt most comfortable and most happy with the outcome when I sit and you talk about what's not on the screen, what's not happening here, and you give all of that backstory together so you're all operating under the same world. That's what works best for me. And then also I felt really insecure when I would see like Maria be method and see how good she was, and I thought, I'm giggling between takes and I should be crying and like, you know, holding my knees and acting like I just took a bottle of pills. But then I would see Julianne Moore just talk about her kids, and literally until the moment that thing slated, and I thought, it's okay to not do that as well. You can, you know, it's again, just there's no judging yourself is the most harmful thing I found.
Hi, Blake. I saw the movie this weekend, and it was wonderful.
Thank you.
And I remember reading in Vogue that you were drawn to this role because it's so rare that a woman really gets to be at the heart and center of a film, and that Adaline just felt like a very naturally complex and interesting character. So I was wondering, what was your favorite thing about playing her, and if it felt different from other roles that you've had?
Well, it felt incredibly different. I think most actors want to be in a period piece film, and I got to be in a multi-period piece film, which is very rare. But what I love most about Adaline is there aren't many movies that women are in the center of them. You know, Kate Blanchett's Oscar speech talking about, look, people want to see movies with women at the center. And then after that, there was a little bit of a trend of, oh, let's make these movies. And then that kind of like cycles out again. And it's a shame that happens. But what I loved about Adaline is that she was multifaceted, and she had her flaws and she had her strengths, and she wasn't really judged either way, where normally women's role is to be the heroine and she's celebrated, or it's to be the villain, whether she's an evil queen or whether she's a drug addict. When they're multifaceted, it's because there's all these dark layers of complexity, or they're this prize for the man, or they're this really charming, dazzling woman. But to have a woman like Annie Hall, you know, who's complex and interesting, and there are great things about her and there are terrible things about her, but she is just honestly a woman. That's very rare, and that's what I liked about Adaline. I mean, she could have even had more flaws. You know, I think we could have pushed that a lot more. But you know, an honest representation of a woman, you don't really get to see a multifaceted, complex women in film enough. But you do get to see complex, multifaceted men a lot, which is disappointing.
I had nothing to do with it, I swear.
I think it's great to see men too, but I think that, you know, it's a shame that women often play one role or the other. Yeah. And I'm always, that's why I'm drawn to these characters that are, you know, I joke that I only ever play a prostitute or a drug addict, because the women that are very layered and complex, that aren't just the prize for the women, are normally dark when they're layered and complex. But that's not honest, you know. They can have their complexities and they can have their darknesses, but you know, there's a lot more to the story than you often see.
Well, let's thank Blake Lively for a wonderful chat.
Thank you, guys.
And